Ladies and gentlemen, in about a week's time, India will be rolling out the next phase of what is indisputably the biggest vaccination drive in the world. And our idea is to vaccinate every adult in the country. Everyone who's medically eligible to get the vaccine will be getting the vaccine. And while there are many people who've contributed to making this possible. And of course, there's been the leadership and vision of the Prime Minister in this. One person who I think the nation must be grateful for is the person joining me on this episode of The Nation Wants to Know. Dr. Krishna is the chairman and managing director of the incredible company called Bharat Biotech International Limited. He leads the team that has created Covaxin, and Covaxin is India's self-made vaccine against COVID, highly reputed. It's got all kinds of international scientific and medical credentials. All across the world, it's being celebrated, and we're hearing more and more about it. Before I begin, let me say this, that it's not been an easy ride for Dr. Krishna. We'd love to know about his entrepreneurship, but even in his battle to get Covaxin to every home and to everyone who's eligible, he's had to face many odds. Viewers, you would remember that 3 to 4 months back, there were a lot of cynics who were on a daily basis running down Covaxin. Some people said this is India's vaccine nationalism. Dr. Krishna has taken it all on the chin. And today, he's been proven absolutely correct. And that's why it's a great honor to speak to you, Dr. Ella. It's a great pleasure. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Nation Wants to Know. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So, tell me, Dr. Ella, to start with, what's this journey been like? Tell me about the last 1 year or a little more since COVID hit the world. What's your journey been like?
I mean, when COVID hit, I think I really pity for a lot of people losing a job, migration of the workers from one state to another state. These are all pain me, actually. See, the economy affects mostly the poorest of poor people first, not the rich people much, but the poor people are the most affected. And at that, I feel very bad about it. And then, for us as a company, manufacturing in such a, lockdown issues was also challenging issues. But this is a part of the life. Everybody has to face it. And we looked at it as a challenging stage that, the country gives an opportunity, or the world, public health gives you an opportunity to help the society at large. If anything we can do as a scientist, that's all what we look at as a scientist. Not as a businessman, as a scientist, what I look at it, anything I can do as a scientist to the society. That's all the important. Not business, balance sheets are not important for us.
Absolutely. When did you start on this journey of trying to find a vaccine, a cure for COVID? When did you start on this journey? Did you have any head start?
I think, Arnab, when in 94, when P.V. Narasimha Rao came to UN agencies in New York, I was also invited in US when I was in US. And when all the pharma companies, American pharma companies were there, they were only asking two things to the Prime Minister that time. One was, why is the Indian pharma companies are copying the drugs? Number one. Number two, they were insisting in data exclusivity. That means whatever the clinical trial they've done, they want to have exclusivity. Somebody should not copy the clinical trial data by other. The two things really hit me a little hard when in that meeting in New York. I said, India cannot be anymore copying the drugs. We should innovate. That is my dream right from the beginning. When I came to India, that's how I named the call Bharat Biotech. I want India to get that innovation. And I want sincerely feel the next generation of this country has to stay back in this country. And that opportunity can come not by government cannot give all those things, but every entrepreneur can create something which can be a spin-off for others, a role model for others. Or we fight the system, clear a lot of barriers, and so the next generation people will prosper. That's my dream right from the beginning as an entrepreneur. And the second point is, you can ask me, how did you get entrepreneurship? I am from a farming family from Tamil Nadu. I looked at my mother and father. They are the best entrepreneurs. They don't have any money. They borrow the loan. They borrow 100 rupees and they put the crops. If they don't get 100 rupees, 150 rupees, that means they're profitable 50 rupees. If not, if it goes to 90 rupees, they lose the money. They don't have a chartered accountant to balance sheet and all that. But it's a simple arithmetic. Farmers are the best entrepreneurs in the world. And they know how to take a risk that still can survive in such a worst scenario. I looked at my father and mother, and that was all sort of inspiration. I said, my father can take that type of risk in my life. Why not I do it?
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you set up Bharat Biotech. You must have had a vision. My question was more in the context of COVID. I'll come back to Bharat Biotech in just a while. My question was in the context of COVID. Everyone, our viewers will be very curious to know, Dr. Ella, how did you find this particular, the what would you call it? The formulation or the combination or to fight COVID? How did you come up with Covaxin? Did you have a head start? I was asking you, did you have a head start like when you started? Were you already working on something like this when COVID hit the world? Or did you start after COVID hit the world?
Arnab, two things important for us. It's one more virus for us. It's not something, one more virus for me as a scientist. It's one more virus. But I'll give you an example of rotavirus story that is isolated from All India Institute of Medical Science by Dr. Ban. And it took 17 years, the product came into the market right now, saving a lot of children on diarrheal diseases in the country. So we have total expertise on that. And another second is typhoid conjugate, first vaccine in the world. Even multinationals doesn't have, even US and Europe doesn't have that vaccine. We were the first company in the world to develop typhoid conjugate vaccine. Now we are supplying to many countries in poor countries like Pakistan, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Ghana, all these countries. So we have a history of understanding a disease problem and how to solve the problem with using that expertise. And then rabies, inactivated vaccine. So this is also COVID. We thought we'll also make inactivated vaccine. And fortunately, what happened, we had a BSL-3 facility, which we created for the injectable polio vaccine plan. And that came in right in handy. So we said, okay, we'll get the COVID. Then how do you get a strain? That's how I wrote a letter to ICMR Director General Balram Bhargav and NIV Pune Director Priya Abraham. And both positively reacted quickly. And then we got the virus strain. And is another story, just another vaccine production for us. Another one more.
No, once you got the virus strain, you're making it look so easy. Just explain the detail a little bit. Once you got the virus strain, what happens after that?
Once virus strain comes, we multiply the virus, and we make a small tubes we call master virus bank. From master virus bank, we make a working virus bank. The working virus bank is the one which is used for production. Master virus bank is stored for next 40 years, 50 years with the company. And the working virus bank, we take it one while and grow the cells, viro cell culture in the fermenter, add this virus to that, infect them, and then do the downstream process purification. You make pure virus, inactivate them with a chemically, so that when you have chemical use, that RNA which are there in the virus get knocked off. So now it's like exactly looking like a virus, but it cannot replicate. That's all the difference is. You make inactivated, similar structure, same conformation, and it look like this, say, a virus particle. So when you give injection, what happens is, body thinks a virus has come. But that virus cannot multiply because we knocked off the RNA. Because RNA is knocked off, so body feels this virus has come, we start producing immune response to that. And what we need as a challenging for us, particularly these sort of problematic virus like injectable polio and all this problem, we know that it needs more of a T cell response, and basically called CD4 or alternatively with cell-mediated response. That's a very critical for this virus. Not that IgG, immune response, which is important for other viruses, but not for this. So we looked at that. That's how we licensed one adjuvant from US, from NIH, a Virovax company from US. We licensed that one. We started manufacturing that adjuvant combined with this one so that we shift from IgG to T cell response. That's the story.
So can you give me the dates? Can you give me the dates, Dr. Ella? When did you get the virus strain? You said from the All India Institute, you got the virus strain. And what was the time when you were convinced that I have now got some kind of a solution, that I have got a prototype vaccine in my hand? What was the intervening time?
The inactivated vaccine, we have already 5 inactivated vaccines producing in the company. So we have pretty good knowledge, like chikungunya, Zika, the rabies, Japanese encephalitis. 4 vaccines we're making already. We made in an injectable polio vaccine also, which is 5th vaccine. So we have pretty good knowledge. It's not something, a rocket science of this one. A typical old technology. It's an old technology. It's not a new technology, honestly. Okay, so therefore, a typical vaccine manufacturers, we follow that inactivated vaccine, produce the virus, billions of virus particles, and kill them, make a formulation, and go for vaccination. It's a typical. It's not a very complicated, honestly. To be frank with you, it's not very complicated, but it's a typical process over the 60, 70 years people have been using. It's not something I've created innovation in this. It's a typical old technology. We made it because this is the technology goes to even child. This is a newborn baby. Injectable polio vaccine is given. So the safest platform. If you ask me truthfully, a lot of Americans want this vaccine because they know that they can be comfortable over the next 20 years with this vaccine.
But how long did it take you to develop the Covaxin prototype? Specifically this one. How long did it take?
Pilot scale production we finished in 2 months. Pilot scale production we produced in 2 months.
That's very fast, isn't it?
Yes,
it
is a fast. It's a very fast. Fortunately, the drug controller office, all of them, they cooperated with us. Inspection.
When was this?
Like day and night work.
When did you complete the pilot? When did you complete this pilot scale production? When you said 2 months? When was that? When you had completed that process?
The process, we do pilot scale, first the pilot scale. After pilot scale, once we got just before the phase 3 trial, we scale up to industrial scale production. The procedure is before phase 3 material, it has to be at industrial scale. And that is what we have done. So before the clinical trial in October starting, we started the phase 3 material at industrial scale. That's a regulatory process.
So you were ready by what, December?
October, no, by September, October, we are ready.
Because I'm looking at the headlines and this, by January. By the way, how good are you at responding to what happens in the media? Because I think what you were doing was a great job and you were doing national service, but then everyone started attacking you. Not you as in personally, but started attacking Bharat Biotech.
I think, I pity those people because I don't know whether they want their children to stay back in India or not. I don't know that. Okay, honestly, I feel pity for them because they need to at least some encourage. I don't want any prize, but at least not to talk bad about us. They have skepticism about Indian innovation. They have skepticism about Indian innovation.
Think so. I think so. I think there are a group of people in India, if there's a foreign label on anything, they will accept it, even if it is 3rd grade. But if it is Indian, even if it's 1st grade, they will run it down. I genuinely think so. And that's the problem in our country. I saw this and it made me angry at that time. January 4th, a journalist called Andy Mukherjee puts out an article on Bloomberg Opinion and says, India's vaccine nationalism is a global risk. And then went on to say, in Bloomberg Opinion, this person called Andy Mukherjee said, the country has approved a domestically developed jab that does not yet have a critical phase 3 data. So basically, Covaxin was run down. It was an attempt was made to give an impression that it was technologically backward, that it ran a huge risk. And that narrative may have changed now, Dr. Ella. But let me take you back to early January, when Covaxin was granted emergency approval. You were basically projected as somebody who was working with the government to get your clearances done fast, to make money and risk the lives of millions of Indians. This was the narrative that was created. I want to know how you dealt with that at that point of time and what impact this had on so many of your colleagues at Bharat Biotech.
No, it was demoralizing for us at that time when you were just mentioning some press person. They should look at it, one Indian company, a small company, biotech company in India, everything manufacturing and clinical trial, everything done by that company. You look at US, Pfizer and Moderna, is NIH has done all the clinical trial. And US's government funded the clinical trial. NIH has done all the clinical trial. You look at AstraZeneca vaccine, entire Oxford developed it, Oxford done all the clinical trial, whether Brazil, South Africa trial or UK trial. Whereas me, as a small company, Bharat Biotech, I've done everything manufacturing, all the clinical trial done by company itself in India. I think press people should recognize that difference between one Indian company doing everything on their own compared to a multinational, which is with all the government funding and all the government help of a clinical trial. Okay, that type of scale up operation is given to us. I think we can do phenomenally globally, actually. But I think this public-private partnership teaches that game for the future. But I think, I'm not, let them criticize because they can't believe that India can do it. And they have a perception, but they don't think that the new generation people like us are entering into the field. We can also change the game in the country. They don't want to believe that. They want to compare us with the old generation entrepreneurs of the country. I think that mindset has to change in the press, that India can do it. And they should encourage lot of young generation people in this country, not talk nationalism. They're talking about nationalism. I'm not talking about nationalism. We are talking about global public health. We don't talk about nationalism. What is important is when I go to another country, they create a nationalism. Okay, well, let us stop Indian vaccine. Let's look at the other vaccine. There comes a nationalism, not us. India never do that. And we, as entrepreneurs, we don't create that up for nationalism at all. We look at it as a public health, global public health. For example, Arnab, we supply 35 million doses of typhoid conjugate to Pakistan to save the children in Karachi area. Because the children are dying in Pakistan, not responding to any antibiotic to the children, to the typhoid. They've all become multi-drug resistant to typhoid. And we are saving the children there. I mean, if I have a nationalism, then I should not be supplying. And I don't have that. I supply to Malawi, I supply to Zimbabwe, I supply to Myanmar, I supply to every country. For me, every child is a global citizen for us.
This was also, I think there are two other things here, maybe. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but the way I look at it, Dr. Ella, is that I feel there are corporate interests, and I think corporate interests mixed up also with political interests, because I'm looking at the kind of discussion that is there. This is all orchestrated, it's all played out. It's all prefabricated almost, this whole discussion. And it was members of parliament were saying that this approval is dangerous. Shashi Tharoor started tweeting that it is dangerous. And everybody started saying that let us start with AstraZeneca. Let's not look at Covaxin. Covaxin is dangerous. And in fact, there was an article put out in some website called The Print, which said that the Covaxin approval is political jumla. And it was made part of the anti-Modi narrative, as if the Prime Minister had some particular vested interest in making Bharat Biotech successful. So you were at the crossroads of political wars and corporate wars, while you were fighting your own battle to save as many people in the country as quickly as possible. So you had your own aspirations to move fast, but you were caught in the middle of a political corporate kind of situation. Are you good at dealing with these situations, Dr. Ella? What did you tell yourself? Was there any moment of self-doubt at that time? Was there any moment of self-doubt at all at that time?
I will tell all these press people only one thing, that if the other two vaccines, adenovirus vector, causing a clots, if my vaccine has created a clot, even one or two people in this country, how they would have reacted to me? They would have reacted so badly that this is the worst vaccine in the world. Okay, but when it comes to other countries' vaccine, they are very mild, they're very gentle to them. Even if I have small adverse reaction, even small death because of some other reason also, they blame me for that. And I've been much more scrutinized, unfortunately, in this country. I don't know why. Why is that? I don't know. I'm not belong to any political party. Okay, I was a US citizen 10 years back. I surrendered, I took the Indian citizenship now. I have a 65. I don't have any political ambition. I'm interested in how the India can stand out innovation. That's all. But why the print or anybody cannot support me on this matter? Why they think, by sensational, by criticizing, they think they are becoming a fair press? I don't know what that means. That's not a fair press.
No, I'll tell you, Dr. Ella, the problem is, I think, that you are the victim of 3 or 4 things. One is that you're a self-made entrepreneur. You're a farmer's son. You don't come from big business family. You built up an organization on your own. Secondly, you are a professional who has become an entrepreneur. You have not inherited anything. So I think that's the second reason. Third, I genuinely think is that you are leading a change in the country, which, if successful, is one of the steps that makes us a superpower. I think health self-sufficiency, medical superiority, pharmaceutical superiority are areas like space technology, where if Indian companies start playing a global role, then India becomes a superpower. So you are a bigger threat than you may imagine yourself to be. I don't know if I'm making myself clear to you, but I think that you are a threat to too many people today because of your success and hard work. And I completely empathize with you. I'll tell you one thing, Dr. Ella. The BBC ran an article also, 4th January, concerned over rushed approval for India COVID jab. And you said, and I'm quoting you, you said India can innovate. It's not a copycat country. We don't deserve a backlash. We do everything systematically. And yet we get the bashing from the news media. Why was nobody questioning the British trials? Why was nobody questioning the UK trials? Why was nobody questioning Covaxin? Nobody was. They were all after you.
Yes, yeah. So they just want, I'm a soft target. And also the press feels, by criticizing another Indian company, they want to feel they're way above Indians. Okay? They're a global press. I don't know why, whom they want to convince. And unfortunately, the problem in the country also, the scientists who are there in this country, they also started targeting. They also become in every TV channel, they get into it. Yes, they're peer-reviewed. That journal is not, the data is not there. When I put a data into Biorex, then say it's not peer-reviewed. When it is peer-reviewed, they don't read and they don't acknowledge. So no scientists even came forward fighting on this system. And that's the sad part of it in this country. And I think, but what I feel is, whatever the fight that I've gone through, it is going to inspire a lot of young Indians in this country. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of innovations will start coming from India. I'm optimistic about it. Yes, so many vaccine companies will come, they'll do it.
Yeah, they will come. And I'll tell you one thing, many people watching this interview today, many people having seen your fight. And I think what happens is when you fight a battle like this, eventually you become a hero and you're going to become a legend. And because of you, I think many other young scientists, because you were telling me about meeting Narasimha Rao, you must have been in your 20s or 30s at that point of time. And many young scientists, microbiologists, biotech pioneers will look at you and say that if Dr. Krishna Ella could do it, we can also do it. I think you're inspiring a lot of people now, and that's what matters eventually. But I can empathize with the pain that you must have gone through. Now, tell me one more thing, Dr. Krishna Ella. 6 peer-reviewed journals have published about Covaxin. Tell me about that. 6 peer-reviewed journals have spoken about it, including the Lancet.
Right
7 is it? Tell me a little bit about that. What does this mean in layman terms? What is
2
this?
Lancet, 1 Nature, 2 Lancet, 2 iScience, 1 Travel Medicine, and 1 more, I don't remember that now. Self-press. So what I'm saying is, when we have 6, 7 journal article, we are comparable with the Pfizer, but no acknowledgement for that. Again,
why do you say no acknowledgement for that? No, why do you say no acknowledgement for that?
Because these are the people who criticized me that I am not having a peer-reviewed journal article. They are the one criticized. There is no data. It is not public domain. It is not peer-reviewed. Everybody criticized me on that. I said, journal also, it takes 5-6 months to come by article. But they don't have patience. By then, they use the social media. That is not there. This is not there. Everybody start attacking. But why is that not, if some clot is happening, why is that there's no discussion here? Why is that Indian vaccine is being targeted all the time?
So tell me then one more thing. Tell me among your peers, because I want people to know about this, among your peers, among scientific reviews, and this is not the first time. I mean, you have been. Firstly, I want viewers to know Covaxin is not the first vaccine that Bharat Biotech has produced. This company has created innovative vaccines, biotherapeutics, including they own 145 patents. They reach over 125 countries. They have received emergency approval in several countries, with 60 countries being in process for the same. I want you to tell all the people watching tonight what has been the international response to Covaxin. Leave all this, few people in India attacking you and abusing you. What has been the international reception that you've got globally?
Honestly, I'm telling you, today, if I have, my entire production can be exported today. Actually, many countries wants our vaccine, including US wants this vaccine, including US. The reason is this one vaccine can go to even children's. The safety pattern is so good. It can go to 2 years baby to 18 years also. Whereas other vaccines, we do not know what will happen to children. And you see some of the restrictions are coming in. Okay, and even whether allergic reaction is there, where they have blood thinner, they can take this vaccine. It gives the blood problem. It's the oldest technology. The world is gold. World is gold. It may not be highly responsive like a Pfizer vaccine, but it's enough for protection of the people. And that is what you want. The safety is most important, particularly in adults. The adults are the worst people to get vaccinated. Child is very easy to vaccinate. You give a child one pick and baby cries for 1 minute. You just show the toy, the baby keeps quiet. Whereas adults are very sensitive for every small reaction. And I think, this is the first time we are experiencing with adult vaccination also. Sorry. I think, the aspect of it is too much demand right now for us, whether it's the Philippines, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Iran, Iraq, Abu Dhabi, a lot of countries demanding. But we are waiting our phase 3 trial completed. Now we want to put the data to the drug controller and put the publication, and then we'll go a little aggressive. And then right now Indian requirement is higher. So we want to see that India's requirement is met first.
You, Dr. Krishna. Now this is going to be a maybe controversial question, but now in India we have 2 vaccines. We have Covaxin and Covishield. In the future we may get Sputnik, we may get others. As of today, how does Covaxin and Covishield compare? Are they both, what would you say, that a person can take either or both? You've given some advantages of Covaxin, which means it has lesser risk for younger people. It's the oldest technology. It's a dead virus. But in terms of protection, do 2 shots of either Covaxin or Covishield suffice? Largely, does both Covishield and Covaxin protect people as much as possible? What would you say about Covishield? I mean, if I was speaking to Adar Poonawalla, I would love to ask him about Covaxin. And if I'm speaking to you, I must get your frank views on Covishield also. What do you think?
It's not fair on my part to talk about other companies and other product. As a professional, as a scientist, what I would tell about Covaxin, the Covaxin is a whole inactivated vaccine. One, safety. Second is you have multi-epitopes. When you have a virus, you have lipid protein on the top, membrane protein, nucleoprotein, and your spike protein. Whereas other vaccines, only spike protein gene is there. Here, you have a nucleoprotein and membrane protein. The nucleoprotein also can give some sort of protection, but no data yet for the COVID. But in flu vaccine and rabies vaccine, it's been clearly shown nucleoprotein can also be a wonderful protection against variants also. Okay. It's been shown in other vaccines, but not in the COVID. We assume nucleoprotein also will have a major role to play against the variants. and against other vaccine efficacy. So that is what we feel about the Covaxin.
So what you're saying is that what you're saying. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But what you're saying is that, and you had said, and this quote comes from you, that Covaxin demonstrates high clinical efficacy trend against COVID-19, but also significant immunogenicity against the rapidly emerging variants. Did you refer to mutants? What is now being referred to as a double mutant in layman language?
Yes. So that is one of the reasons why it's protected UK strain. We've done. And we've done the Brazilian P3 strain, not P1, P3. We've done it. That is neutralizing. And third one, we've seen the double mutant also neutralizing. But if you ask me next as a scientist, what I would do, not as a businessman, as a scientist, what I would do, I would really look, if like a flu strategy, whether I can take a South African strain, make as a vaccine candidate. If I do that, it will protect 100% the Brazilian P1, South African one, and our double mutant of Indian one. All three will be protected. And it can be done. The regulatory agencies, whether WHO or US FDA, gives you, like a flu vaccine, change of strain is allowed.
What I wanted to understand from you was, we've now heard of the double mutant, and then some people are talking about triple mutant strain. These viruses go through their own evolution. If I take a vaccine shot today, anything, Covaxin, Covishield, whatever, in the future, is there a fear or a danger that the mutant strains might be such that the vaccine shot, when it was made, when it was delivered into me, did not cover it? Is that a fear? Will we have to constantly, like every 6 months or 1 year, have to change the nature of our vaccine depending on the mutations that this virus or any other virus goes through?
And that is what it looks right now. Moderna has already changed the South African spike protein gene, and Pfizer is on the way. And we also working on changing the strain if it are government regulatory agents. So it might be changing according to every year, the mutation that is occurring will give an indication that what mutant is important to neutralize the other variant. It might happen every year. We may have to change the strain, or if the other people are using spike protein, they may have to change the spike protein gene also.
So they'll have to change it, tweak it a little bit. But again, I'm very interested in one thing which you mentioned about the fact that Covaxin is harmless for younger people. I heard that Covaxin can be given to those above 12. Is this true? If it is, then why are those above 12 not getting the Covaxin? Is this because of regulatory approvals? Secondly, so many young children, Dr. Rella, in this particular phase, last 2-3 weeks, young children, 4-year-old, 5-year-old have got COVID, and they really suffer as well. What should be done? When can children be vaccinated?
I'm actually, to be frank with you, death, what is happening in the world people is a sad part of it. But I'm looking at it, the reason why world people also death is happening, because many children they carry the virus, they don't show symptoms. And they are playing with the grandparents and grandfathers and all of them, and they are going to be infected. That's the worst part. So, and also, if they get some disease, their lung is little damaged, they're going to have a lot of future problem in their life. That is what I'm concerned about it. The children's life, their health is not going to be as good as like me in the future. And that is really concern to me, actually. I think engaged kids should be really given quickly a vaccination, so that by giving a vaccination, they're asymptomatic, you control the disease, so that internally parents, like we take a 45 years above, all of them take a vaccine, children are carrying the virus, is still going to give infection to the old people. Because vaccine only prevents a disease. It will not prevent the infection. So you're going to have still problem in the system in the house. Yeah. I'm scared of that. I'm really scared of that. And I really...
what should be done? What should be done?
No, we got just clinical permission from the Drug Controller General to do the trial from 2 years to 18 years now. So we are going to be starting...
So that will take how long?
Trial on the children. It might take 3-4 months. 3-4 months.
3-4 months. So are you saying that in 4 or 5 months from now, we may be in a situation to also vaccinate younger people if you get the regulatory clearances, if your tests go off well?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it can go from 2 years to 18 years we are targeting. And I think it will, because the platform is similar to injectable polio vaccine. So nothing great about it. The safety will be all right in the children's.
I'm trying to just get as much information from you in the course of this interview. A lot of people will be watching this. Now, 0.04% of those who were administered Covaxin turned positive. Dr. Ella, Bharat Biotech has shown that, has said that Covaxin has shown an overall interim clinical efficiency of 78% and 100% efficacy against severe COVID disease. So just tell me, these are all technical terms, statistics people don't understand, but now these foreign vaccines will be may come to India, right? Sputnik or Pfizer or Moderna. We already have AstraZeneca. Comparatively, how has Covaxin performed compared to all? You must be mapping this well as well.
We are mapping, each one is different in its own way. Each one is different in its own way. But certainly 78% for inactivated vaccine is a significant in terms of efficacy. But 100% protection against hospitalization is a very good, to be frank with you. Coming to, I want to tell all the viewers, very important message I want to give. Vaccinated people, all injectable vaccines will only protect up to lower lung, not the upper lung. Upper lung to nose will not be protected. That is the case with the Pfizer vaccine, mRNA vaccine also. People get vaccinated, they'll get still positive infection, and you look at RT-PCR, you might be positive. But what is important is vaccine will prevent you to go to hospitalization. You just may get a fever, you just stay back 2-3 days, you'll be all right. The hospitalization can be reduced, mortality can be reduced, zero, almost. So that is what vaccination. People, what the problem in India is, they think they're vaccinated, they can remove the mask, they can go for marriage, they can go for bar, they can go to movie theaters. That's wrong. Because virus load, the people, until 75% of the people are herd immunity comes, we can't do that. So we need to control the disease spread, transmission. The transmission has to stop means people has to wear masks. That's important. Even vaccinated.
So you're saying, you just explain this once again. You're saying that the vaccine, all vaccines, even Covishield,
all vaccines.
They
can look at the Covishield publication.
Yes. What does it say that they vaccinate up to where? You described it well. You said upper nose.
What happens is you have upper lung, lower lung. When you have injectable vaccines, it only protects up to the lower lungs.
Okay.
The upper lung and nose are not protected much. So you still get infection. I'm trying to simplify the matter. I'm trying to make it simplified. Why this is important, this area is important, where the virus enters. Why now people are talking about a nasal vaccine as a second generation vaccine. The second generation vaccine, what happens is, it protects everything from here to upper lung and lower lung. All are protected. That's a nice thing about it protects, it has got two immune responses, three immune responses. Mucosal immunity, that means nasal immunity. And second is IgG response, like injectable vaccine. Third is T-cell response. So all three responses produce only nasal vaccine. Injectable vaccine only produce IgG and T-cell response.
So this nasal vaccines are how far away now?
We just phase 1 is undergoing right now. By May 8th, will be last date for us for the data coming out.
So you are also coming up with a nasal vaccine?
Yes. I think we'll be the first one in the world. If the regulators help us, we'll be the first one in the world to come out with a nasal vaccine.
You're going to make history. You're going to be making history if that happens.
No, I do not know, but we have competition from US and China on that vaccine. And now Israel is also.
But tell me, if someone's taken Covaxin or Covishield now, and you come up with a nasal vaccine in say May, June, can someone then who's already taken an injectable vaccine also get a nasal vaccine shot?
That's a very good question, Arnab. Very good question. But I don't have data. I don't want to be blamed that I suggested something like that. Yeah. But if you look at scientifically, you want me to make a hypothesis on that, okay?
Yeah.
an injectable vaccine, whoever take an injectable vaccine, if you take one dose of nasal vaccine, might take care of the problem of transmission stops. The one nice thing about the nasal vaccine, you will not get infection and also not transmitting the virus. When you don't transmit the virus, you block the chain. You block the chain of the transmission. And that is what we want. We want to flatten the curve is the only way is the transmission stopping. Right now, it is not happening.
So people can take, even those who've taken an injectable vaccine now, most probably you think will be able to take a nasal vaccine?
It's only my hypothesis, yes, but I don't have a data.
And it's a nasal vaccine is what? It's like a nasal drop?
It's just drop, just like a polio drops, just like polio drop. Just to turn them, 2 drops here, 2 drops here. You're done with it. And we have seen 200 people were vaccinated, and we have seen not even single adverse, not even fever, not even single adverse reaction. In 200 people.
Amazing. So things are basically going to change a lot for the better in a couple of months with these new things.
Now the globe is recognizing. See, earlier people were concerned about the nasal. Now WHO convinced. Now the global authorities are getting convinced that nasal is one of the important angle for a second generation vaccine. So that will stop the transmission. Because all injectable vaccine is not going to stop the transmission.
So then we must work very hard. We must then work very hard to make sure that you have enough production capacity for the nasal vaccine. I mean, between finding the innovation and building that kind of production facility, you will have to really ramp up production, because if this is that effective, then the supply chain will then start demanding a lot of this nasal vaccine. Are you really ready for that? Are you ready for that?
The supply chain is easy. Arnab. The reason is it's a live vaccine. It's easy always to produce. Inactivated is very tough. Like if I produce 100 dose live vaccine, inactivated, I'll produce only 1 dose. So you see the inefficiency of the inactivated strategy. Okay, so I take 100 doses of vaccine. When I inactivate, I get only 1 dose. So in nasal, it's a live vaccine. I can produce any amount of capacity, and I can partner with other companies to make it to see that India reaches the entire country can reach fast track. And that's very easy to deliver even to the rural area.
So one more question, I've got so many questions on this. The problem with people like me is that we keep reading a lot. We are half doctors, half scientists nowadays. The amount that we read, but tell me, will Covaxin or Covishield or anything, how often will people need booster doses? Like we know with the flu vac, you take an injection, especially older people take an influenza vaccine once a year. And the technology there also changes every year. What about the COVID vaccines, the injectable ones?
See, we've asked a permission from the drug controller. We got the permission. So in a phase 2 trial, people who have been vaccinated, and touch wood, I want to tell you, Arnab, the 370 people who got the vaccination, because there's no placebo in phase 2 data, not even one got COVID. Not even one got COVID. Okay. Now we are taking those people and giving a booster dose to them, and see that if I give a booster dose, will they be protected for the next 1 year? We're monitoring those people. So I feel, my gut feeling is booster dose might require. I don't want to make as a news right now, but certainly if you give a booster dose, it can give tremendously the long-term immunity might be protected. And that is what we have seen in children also.
Yeah. One more question. Suppose I've taken, or anyone's taken, suppose X person has taken a Covishield shot. Can they take the nasal vaccine made by you?
Absolutely. The reason is the route of delivery is different. It should be all right. Absolutely all right. This is only hypothesis. Again, somebody should not blame me. I said,
of course, no.
I don't want that to be. But I'm only as a scientist talking, hypothesizing this, that yes, one can take it, because injectable route and nasal route is different. And nice thing about nasal, you can repeat this second dose, third dose, next year also you can repeat, because it avoids a pre-existing immunity. Whatever the pre-existing immunity is there with the injectable, the route of administration changes the pre-existing immunity. We call it avoids the pre-existing immunity. That's a nice thing about the nasal.
When do you think with this present phase that we are going through will settle down a little bit? This is such a bad situation. You must have seen the oxygen the oxygen crisis in the country. What is your own belief now with the vaccination drive opening up to above 18? When do you think this hockey stick type of growth will come down a little bit and start normalizing?
No, I'm really crying every day. Honestly, I'm really crying every day. The way people are suffering in the country, I really pity for that. But what I see is that two contrasts I've seen, Arnab. When it came first wave, the poor people, slum people, got in urban slums, urban poor people, and some district headquarters, they were all infected in the first wave. In the first wave, when it attacked, all the rich people, middle class and rich people, educated people, they're all careful. They're very good lockdown that time. And they didn't get anything, much disease. When suddenly this hesitancy came in, oh, this is not a big deal now. Now it is gone, COVID is gone. So all the middle class and rich people have started conducting marriages, parties, all those things. Now, when I called some of the big hospitals in Hyderabad, they said all the rich people, middle class people are there. That was my hypothesis, was right or wrong. I checked with the hospitals. So middle class and rich people are the most affected today in the second wave. This is a sad part. The first wave was poor people affected. The second wave, rich people were affected. I looked at the Bihar, Patna, when we were doing clinical trial, almost 60% of the people were zero prevalence in the Patna. And when it comes to Bombay and Nagpur and Goa, there were only 10-12% was the zero prevalence. Now you look at the second wave, the highest affected is not in Patna, it is most affected in Nagpur, Goa, Hyderabad, Bombay. That clearly shows that poor people were saved this time, rich people got attacked this much. But again, I don't want to be blamed. I'm not an epidemiologist, but it's my just correlation of the issues. And also what happened, because of middle class and rich people, they're getting scared of the disease. Even as a mild symptom, they're running to the hospitals, unfortunately. They're getting overcrowded in the hospital. My request to some of the people is, if they have mild symptom, they're isolating at the house itself is the best thing can happen to them. Hospital is not safe. House itself is the same, better. I think they should not work out the hospital, but of course, everybody's got a panic.
But when will this curve start? When will this curve start settling down a bit?
Again, I'm not an astrologer, I'm not an epidemiologist, but I feel it has peaked. Now it's peaked.
You feel it's peaked, yeah.
So it's peaked.
I also think so. Yeah.
It's peaked.
Yeah.
It's peaked. Now it cannot go up anymore. Now, my feeling is, see, the virus is like this. When you have people who are not been infected here, it attacks them. And then when you attack, they get immunity and they cannot go anywhere, they goes down. And again, some other thing, my worry is when now vaccinated people, old people are vaccinated, the old people are immunized with infection. And now where this virus will go? It has to find some young people only next. That's my worry. Next is it has to survive. It will find other alternative host. That might be
I think so too. I think so too. Well, tell me one thing now, Dr. Ella. What is your aspiration? You have started with nothing, slowly built a company. Now the company itself has become a legend. Bharat Biotech is now a legend. We associate it with Bharat, the India story. What is your aspiration now? Where does Dr. Krishna Ella go from here? Also, in a way, the battle that you have fought against COVID has given you scale. The government is fully backing you. The Prime Minister has faith in Bharat Biotech. So this has given you a great opportunity also in a way, It's added wind to your sails. How will you use this to take the next leap, and what will the next leap be?
I'm honored the Prime Minister is taking the vaccine. Honestly, I'm really honored that one. Me and my wife, family, we are really grateful for that. And also recognizing the Indian innovation, trusting the Indian startups. That's very important for us. Coming to second is what is aspiration. I want many Indians, younger generation, to step back in this country, create innovation for this country. That's the only aspiration I have. Nothing else for me. I went to US for higher education. Okay. And I came back, maybe by lucky I succeeded. But I want many younger generation people to step back in this country, create a future innovation of India. That's the only aspiration. Because money cannot give me a satisfaction beyond a level. My mom always tells me, son, you have 9 inches stomach. How much ever money you have, you can't eat more than 9 inches stomach. Okay? So life becomes even 9 inches, becomes 3 inches now with age. So you can't eat more than that. So, but certainly I want next generation, that's my first aspiration, the next generation to stay back, do something for the country and create innovation for the country. The second aspiration, anything I can help farmers and in agriculture side, because originally I'm an agriculture graduate from farming family. I want to focus. I've reached to 65 now. I just want to see whether I can do something for the agriculture, for the farmers to help them, something strategically. That's my next aspiration.
Well, these are both wonderful aspirations. I think that you're a visionary, and I share with you many of those aspirations. I think the time has come for Indian entrepreneurs also to take global steps and also to contribute and give back to the country, a sense of pride. And I think you're uniquely placed to do that. You've fought so many battles. You've come out stronger. It's a pleasure to meet you and to get to know you. I hope we continue to be in touch, Dr. Krishna. And on behalf of everyone here at the Republic Media Network, stay strong, stay healthy, and wish you many, many years of great service to the country. Thank you so much, Dr. Ella. Thank you.
Thank you.